There was this web novel, a total flop. It only ever had one view per chapter, and that view belonged to Kim Dokja. For 10 long years, he stuck with this 3,000-chapter epic that literally nobody else cared about. But the second he hit the final page, reality itself started to fracture. The subway train screeches to a violent halt, sparks flying as the metal grinds, and then this horned creature appears. Trust me, he's not here to ask for directions. Dokja recognizes the scene immediately. It's the exact opening of the novel he spent a decade reading. The world is now following a script that only he knows by heart. Right in the middle of the chaos, he crosses paths with the actual protagonist, a guy with movie star looks and a build that makes that massive sword look like an afterthought. Dokja knows exactly who he is. He knows every single one of his darkest secrets, to everyone else. This is the apocalypse. But for Dokja, things are just getting started. He's got the ultimate unfair advantage. He knows how the story ends, and he's not about to waste his shot. With his finger still resting on his phone screen, gets ready to play his part as the only person who knows what's coming next. 10 years, it took 10 long years. But the author finally posted the final chapter. The sign-off says that because he read until the very end, Dokja is going to survive. Talk about convenient. The author hands the protagonist a literal lease on life right before finishing the story and turning out the lights. Kim Dokja is 28 years old, a faceless office worker, the kind of background extra you'd never notice. His name is a bit of a pun. It can mean only child, but it also means reader. His father wanted him to be strong and independent, standing on his own 2 feet, but the plan backfired. The kid ended up becoming a total loner instead. His only escape is reading web novels on the subway, but today his commute is about to get weird. He runs into Yu Sanga, the most popular girl at the company. She's such a high achiever that she even studies foreign languages on the train with a level of intensity that's actually kind of terrifying. When she asks him what he's reading so intently, he panics and lies, telling her he's just brushing up on his Korean. There's no way he's admitting he devours survival stories just to escape his mediocre reality. While she's quoting intellectual authors, he's thinking about web novel writers that even the algorithm hasn't heard of. They are definitely not on the same level. His world feels empty today because the series that accompanied him for over a decade has finally come to an end. For Dokja, those chapters were his personal fallout shelter. He remembers being bullied back in school, and how he ended up at a bottom-tier college because he didn't try hard enough. Fiction was the only thing that kept him from losing his mind. He even recalls his days in the military, where he'd managed to follow the plot while his actual life was a total disaster. The most incredible thing is the author's sheer willpower. The guy wrote over 3,000 chapters knowing that after chapter 50, Dokja was the only person still reading. It's a decade-long private message that nobody else ever bothered to open. Since Dokja barely scrapes buys by donating is out of the question, so he leaves a humble comment before the epilogue goes live. But reality won't leave him alone, and having Yu Sanga right next to him is a constant reminder of where he stands. The contrast is night and day. She's the star employee who just went full-time, and he's the intern counting down the days until his contract expires. If this were a story, she'd be the perfect heroine, and he'd be the nameless extra who dies in the prologue. Just as he wonders what would happen if his life switched genres, if the office realism gave way to fantasy, his phone starts vibrating as if it's about to explode. It's a message from TLS123, the author. The guy is grateful and lets him know that monetization starts at 7:00 p.m. tonight, but adds that there's a special gift waiting for him in his inbox. Dokja is already imagining a coupon for a meal combo, but the author was much more generous than that. He sent him a VIP pass to the end of the world. He tries to check the site, but the story is gone. The author wiped every trace of it right before the launch. It's 5 minutes to 7, and the atmosphere is getting heavy. Suddenly, the subway slams on the brakes, sending everyone crashing to the floor. The windows shatter and darkness swallows the carriage in an instant. Dokja tries to shield his colleague as everything goes to hell amidst the screaming. 7 o'clock sharp, the air crackles with static, and a system message appears floating right before his eyes. The free trial for planet Earth has ended. The main scenario begins now, and the genre of his life has just changed forever. Someone screamed Dokkaebi the exact moment the subway screeched to a violent halt. As darkness swallowed the carriage, that name echoed in Dokja's mind with a terrifying familiarity. It was a carbon copy of the web novel he'd been reading for the last 10 years. Through the haze of smoke and sparks, a white, fluffy ball of fur with horns appeared, floating mid-air as if it owned the place. Instead of running, the passengers pulled out their phones, assuming it was some AR stunt or a viral marketing campaign. It looked almost cute, but Dokja knew better. This thing was about to slaughter thousands. The creature waited patiently while they recorded, none of them realizing their lives were already over. Sanga moved to try and talk to it, but Dokja stopped her cold. You don't negotiate with something like that. The Dokkaebi babbled nonsense until its translator finally kicked in, allowing it to be understood. The passengers quickly lost their patience, and a few hot-headed salarymen started hurling insults, demanding to be let off the train. With a blood-curdling grin, the creature decided to ask for silence in the most graphic way possible. With a cynical, "Ladies and gentlemen," it welcomed them to the chaos just as a poor kid's head popped like a blood-filled balloon. In an instant, the carriage turned into a nightmare of screams and gore. The Dokkaebi made one thing very clear. This wasn't a dream, nor was it one of those stories they read to kill time. This was reality. Dokja tried to process the horror, but the stench of death in the air made it impossible to deny. The creature mocked them for living for free for so long, announcing that their free trial of breathing was officially over. Amidst the panic, a typical corporate suit stepped forward, thinking money could still solve his problems. It was Han from HR who, in a fit of desperation, offered the creature a check as if he were negotiating a bribe. The Dokkaebi found the audacity so hilarious that it set the money ablaze right in his hand. It explained that in this new market, those scraps of paper couldn't buy them a single extra second of life. Suddenly, the air crackled with static as a channel opened for invisible spectators to tune into the show. A blue screen announced the start of the main scenario. Proof of value. The goal was simple: kill or be killed. They had 30 minutes to stop being victims and become murderers if they wanted their hearts to keep beating. The creature wished them luck with a shark-like grin and vanished, leaving them trapped in a subway car that had just become a custom-built slaughterhouse. Sanga is falling apart, gnawing on her fingers and praying for the police to pick up. But the lines are dead. Dokja knows that if he doesn't calm her down right now, she won't last 5 minutes. He grabs her by the shoulders and hits her with the only logic that matters now. They have to treat this like a game. If there are rules, there's a way to win. They just have to follow them if they don't want to end up as floor decor. Meanwhile, the carriage is pure chaos, with people praying in their seats while others desperately punch the doors. Dokja has already accepted reality. The novel he spent 10 years reading has come to life right in front of him. There's no room left for doubt. Suddenly, the notification no one wanted to see pops up. The first scenario, proof of value, has a very clear objective: kill one or more living beings. They have 30 minutes to comply, and if they fail, the system has the only penalty possible waiting for them: death. In the middle of the madness, a serious-looking man tries to restore order. He pulls out his ID and introduces himself as Lieutenant Lee Hunsung, acting as if a military badge could actually stop the apocalypse. The guy shows them messages from his unit regarding emergency protocols, but the poor deluded fool has no idea that there's no manual for this. Dokja recognizes him instantly. It's the Steel Sword, one of the most important supporting characters from the original story. He has the same rigid attitude as in the book, but there's a problem. According to the novel, Hyunsung shouldn't have appeared yet. Something in the narrative has already broken, and the reader realizes that knowing the ending doesn't guarantee survival. The script has started to mutate. Meanwhile, every phone screen displays the Prime Minister selling smoke, swearing that the situation is under control. The official line is that this is a terrorist attack, but Dokja isn't buying it. He knows the story by heart, and he knows the truth is much more ridiculous. As the politician continues with his empty promises, a sudden blast echoes through the speakers, and the man is taken out on national television. Goodbye broadcast, and goodbye hope. The Dokkaebi reappears, mocking everyone and telling them to stop talking nonsense. This isn't an attack, it's a game. And since Koreans are supposed to be experts at gaming, the creature decides to skip the tutorial and crank up the difficulty in one go. A blue timer appears floating in the carriage, and the remaining time drops from 24 minutes to just 10 in the blink of an eye. The scenario is the proof of value, where the goal is to kill one or more living things to survive. If you succeed, you get coins. If not, you're history. To turn up the heat, the system clarifies that if there isn't a kill within the next 5 minutes, everyone will be annihilated. Basically, it's telling them to slaughter each other before the clock runs out. The passengers crowd around Lieutenant Hyunsung looking for a miracle, but the poor guy looks just as clueless as everyone else. Dokja tries to keep his cool because he knows this is all part of the plot, but he's still desperately searching for the novel's true protagonist, the guy who's actually supposed to fix this mess. Suddenly, people try to flee into the other carriages, but an electric barrier sends them bouncing off the doors. Access is restricted. No one leaves until the scenario is complete. They're trapped in a fishbowl, waiting to see who snaps first. The furry creature reappears, laughing his head off and mocking those still hoping for a rescue. He plays the part of a merciful god and gives them a sneak peek of what happens if they just sit on their hands. With a snap of his fingers, a hologram of a girl's high school classroom appears in the middle of the train. A guy with glasses recognizes the uniform immediately, but his relief lasts only a heartbeat. As soon as the video's timer hits 0, the classroom turns into a nightmare. Desperate girls scream as everything goes to hell in seconds. They try to force the doors, but they're just as trapped as the passengers. Screams fill the carriage as everyone watches the horror, unable to look away. When the smoke clears, only one young girl remains standing among the desks. Her name is Lee Ji-hye. Her eyes are vacant and her face is splattered with blood. The system announces her as the sole survivor of her class. For Lee Ji-hye, the final exam was basic survival: kill your classmates or die with them. The Dokkaebi returns with a wide grin, asking if they still think this is a joke or if they finally realize the next video could be theirs. The atmosphere on the train turns suffocating. It's not just fear anymore. Now they understand that the person sitting next to them is their direct competition for survival. What an insane cliffhanger! That hairy beast is playing for keeps and the clock is ticking. The system demands a sacrifice if you want to survive, so don't overthink it. Absolutely demolish that like button. Subscribe so you don't get wiped out in the next scenario, and comment which manhwa you want me to cover next. Peace out.